What's up, War Report family? It's your boy C-Dub. Here we are at the post game. Auburn goes down 27-49 on the road against Alabama. Let's get into this post game and talk about it.
Pre-game, halftime, and post the whole time the chat live. We around our folks, but we gon' keep the chat tight, keeping out trolls. That's why you gotta get your green name on, your pre-game on, cause ain't nobody doing it better, reviewing it better, building rapport so you in tune with the players, with some quick prize picks so you can scoop you some cheddar. Get your mug or your shirt with the letters. Game time.
Shout out to Prize Picks for being a sponsor of our game day experience as well as our post game. Please be sure to support them by heading over to Prize Picks. Please use code RAPPORT where you'll get 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. Definitely want to show love to Prize Picks, and thanks again for supporting the War Report as well as our post game show. Joined here by B. Will. The final is Auburn 27, Bama 49. B. Will, your initial thoughts on the game?
We played a good game offensively. It wasn't a perfect game offensively, but we played a good game offensively. We lacked the horses on defense to slow them down enough for our offense to keep up or catch up. Even with the blown muff punt call, the fumble by Jarquez that resulted in 7 points, a 14-point swing doesn't win us this game. How they were able to move the ball and going to be able to move the ball on the ground and through the air, we did not have much of a chance to really win this game. And unfortunate, but we saw a change of effort ever since Harsin got fired and Caddy took over. Caddy's changes is simplifying the defense, what he was able to do with the offense, especially. You still can't replace talent and experience at some key positions. Cannot do it. Could not do it for linebacker. Could not do it for defensive line where we missed we definitely missed A.Q. Leota, but where we were short another pass rusher that was unstoppable. Ike has made this comparison when talking about D. Hall. D. Hall is relentless, but Aku was unstoppable. And that's the difference between what we had last year and what we were missing this year, is we didn't have somebody who could win almost every snap that he lined up. We didn't have a big impact from Kobe and Marcus this game, which was, a little disappointing. Still don't know the health of those guys. I know Marcus got hurt last week. But we just didn't have enough on defensive line and linebacker, especially, to stay competitive in this game. And there was no way you were going to go to Tuscaloosa, get no sacks on Bryce Young, and have a chance to win. It just wasn't going to happen. So we see where we're deficient. We see where the defense needs some work. We're going to lose a lot of talent off of this defense next year. Maybe a little too early to worry about that. But got to love the effort from the offense. And a look at what happens when coaching decides, you're what I got, let me make this easy for you to produce. And look at what Robbie Ashford was able to do. I'm going to pull these stats up in a minute just to compare what he looked like in this game versus the average of his starts under Brian Harsin. And it's just night and day, man, night and day. But still very proud of this team because their record doesn't show the type of team that they've become these last few weeks. But the effort showed, and we saw it today. So proud of them.
Initial thoughts, Mike G.
Bryce Young is good. He's as good as I thought he was coming into this one. If he's not the first pick in the NFL draft, I'd be shocked. I think that he was the key to this. Stopping him was going to be the key to staying in this game. Auburn didn't do that. Our pass defense was soft over the middle. That killed us. And letting him again, he's still he's a talented passer, but he's still dangerous with his legs. Feels like we forgot that at times here. But outside of that, moving to Auburn, this wasn't a terrible offensive performance for Auburn. 318 yards rushing. I think it was Justin Hokanson that posted the last time Auburn rushed for 250 yards plus 250 yards or more in 4 straight games was 2013. So they found something in this run game that I hope that they can build on. And there's an outside chance that they get into a bowl game at 5-7. There are 3 5-7 teams that will make it into a bowl game. And I'm being told Auburn is the top tier. So that extra work might be good for them as well, too. And then Tank, listen, man, for the seniors on this team, you don't want that to be your last game.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to go out with a win. You definitely want to go out with a win. So my hat's off to the staff that pulled something together here at the end of the season that kept this from being a complete disaster. This game was about what I expected, which is why I made the score prediction that I did. I did not count on the refs giving Bama 14 points, or the prediction would have been a little bit closer to what I thought.
Right.
But this was about, listen, they were the better team today. I want to be clear. Alabama was the better team today. They got help, but this game was closer than the score reflects. This wasn't a real 49 points we gave up to them, especially the garbage time touchdown they gave up there at the end. So other takeaways, listen, Robbie Ashford and Jarquez Hunter, those two combined for over 150 yards rushing. Robbie went for 121 in this one. Jarquez went for 134 on 11 carries. His yards per carry average, it's been nuts. It's been insane. Tank had a pretty pedestrian night, 15 carries for 63 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. So it just wasn't there. Also what I noted, guys, was there was now I can't knock the staff too much for this, but it was pretty clear there was no hurry up offense. Not at one point did I feel like there was some sort of urgency, like they were running like a 2-minute drill or anything.
I don't think we've ever worked on that in practice since Caddy is taking over. Yeah. We're just a grind it out type team.
At the end of the third quarter, I was just thinking this game is actually within reach if you can score fast enough.
Right.
It wasn't just about scoring. It was about scoring fast enough, unless your defense was going to turn the other offense over and give you a short field. So, they've got work to do. Robbie Ashford is a work in progress. And I think that a proper QB developer can come in and do a lot with that from what I saw today. He made some good passes today. I thought he did a decent job keeping the ball out of harm's way.
Yeah.
And he's gonna build on this going into the offseason and try to become a more polished passer, because I'm telling you, man, if he can pass the ball at a 68% clip, he's gonna be a Heisman candidate. I'll say that again for the people in the back. If Robbie Ashford can pass the ball at a 68% clip and run the ball like he did tonight, he's gonna be a Heisman candidate next year. So we'll see how it goes. This was it never feels good to lose the Iron Bowl, but I'm not super down because, again, it was about what I expected. I just wish the refs had not inserted themselves into the game in the way that they did. I hope there is a strong review in Birmingham of the muffed punt by Keontae Scott. I didn't think that was a muff, but, this is what it is, man. Going into Tuscaloosa and trying to get a win, it's hard. I'm proud of how they performed today. I thought they gave it their all. And then you got some stuff, man, when you go back and look at the tape, man, all the false start penalties, unacceptable.
Yeah.
I get getting a couple because it's loud and you're on the road, but, man, was it 7 of them? It was a lot. It was a lot of false starts.
It was a lot.
It was an abnormal amount, I guess. That was disappointing. And it was everybody, man. Even Tank had a false start.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts, just my instant reaction to this one.
Yeah, I tweeted something just about Caddy. I am very impressed and thankful for Caddy for helping these players to still believe and have something to play for.
Right.
I remember the last time Auburn went into Bryant-Denny, Malzahn was the coach. And I remember how that game went. We were defeated early on, and there was very little fight. Right. For this team to come in the second half and score 13, still playing from behind, says a lot about what Caddy and the coaching staff has done despite what has occurred this season.
Right.
They had every reason to get hit in the mouth and pack it in
That's
and
facts.
not give up much fight.
That's facts.
So to me, the biggest takeaway is what Caddy has done for this program despite what all has occurred. This season did not go the way any of those guys, coaching staff, ever anticipated. So hats off to him, and I'm just proud of these kids for fighting as hard as they did.
Yeah,
you
listen.
guys could go ahead, Mike.
He went into Tuscaloosa and dropped 27 on Alabama, almost exclusively running the ball.
Yeah.
All right. Cadillac, Carnell Williams needs to be on this staff next year. So,
For sure.
Just alert Hugh Freeze or Dabo or whoever's going to be the next coach. Retain Caddy or feel the wrath of the fan base. Or you better win in year one.
Preferably both.
Yeah, and the run game better look spectacular.
Yeah.
Retain Caddy no matter what. Dude, find a spot for him on the staff. Let him continue to develop as a head coach. Right? I was sitting here watching it with my dad, and he was like, why did they call a timeout there? You guys know I bemoaned timeout management under Brian Harsin. And I would ask him about it often in post-game pressers. Like, yo, why'd you call a timeout there? The answer was the same. I thought that, again, the lack of urgency, they were doing the right thing, saving the timeouts. But, again, just procedural stuff caused them to have to call a timeout there at the end where they didn't want to. And, there are things to learn as a head coach that I think, Caddy will continue to develop and, when he's ready, step into the position, hopefully at Auburn. So, man, but you can't say enough about the job he did down the stretch here, right? He took Mississippi State to overtime.
First game.
Right. Come on. Like this was good. These guys played for him. And I think that we all learned this year how much morale, locker room morale matters in terms of on-field performance.
Right.
Yeah. He came in, he lifted morale, right? I kill you. I'm feeling I kill your guys. I hope he's a guy that they find a way to keep as well.
Listen, Ike needs to be protected. Again, this guy coaching the NFL, and he's definitely the chemistry between him and Caddy, as well as what he's managed to do with this offense, shouldn't go unnoticed at all.
Right.
Definitely protect him.
Right.
These guys like to play for him as well. So for sure, I agree with that. I also find it impressive. I think Bama was holding teams under 4 yards per carry. Auburn averaged 7.4 yards per carry in this game.
That's crazy. That's
primarily a running team, averaged 7.4 yards per carry against Alabama.
Caesar, I'm not going to lie. I thought Bama would do a better job stopping our run game.
Well, I mean, they're in the top 10 in terms of run defense.
Yeah, I thought they would do a much better job.
Yeah. We did a great job tonight. So there's a lot of positives to take away from this team. And obviously we know what this team's strengths is. So guys, let's get into some of these. Let's get into some of these comments. B Will's forehead says our defense was as bad as Gary Danielson.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that, guys, about the defense overall?
I'm not so down on the called game plan. I see people saying, "Oh, Schmedding's terrible." Of course, last year Schmedding got the praise for calling the Iron Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Big quote fingers right there. I think this was a symptom of, yes, we have people playing more motivated. We have some different guys on the field, but I think today was the first time that new guys on the field hurt us because they didn't know where to be sometimes. They were out of position several times, and even though their offense, Mississippi State's offense, isn't a running offense. So, you kind of get a little reprieve with that. Our second half against Mississippi State was mostly just putting pressure on their quarterback, and it worked to let us get back in the game. Western Kentucky, they weren't really a threat running the ball either. But when you have a real home run threat at running back on the other team, and you have to account for them, you have to think about them, I think it makes the game a little different. And there's not much you can do when you haven't seen everything that there is to see from a quality running team.
Right.
The other team can stay balanced on you when you have to account for the run, when you really have to account for the run. And that's what happened. So it's a matter of, this is where we're short on horses in a few spots. Linebacker is one of them. defensive line after the attrition and the injuries was another one. And that's just what we are and where we are. I'm proud of the effort. The defensive backfield was good, not great, you know what I'm saying? But that's what happens when you play somebody who can really get the ball anywhere, anytime. They have a balanced offense with a great quarterback, and this is what it looks like when you don't have the horses to keep up with it. But we did what we could do. I don't think anybody performed underneath their potential tonight, if that makes sense.
Getting on to some more comments. Control Chaos says that horrible review on the punt is why I can't be trusted on the sidelines. I'd be in the ref's face.
Yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing when you have a clear camera angle of it and you miss it. The one that we saw that I shared on Twitter, they showed that one time on the broadcast and did not again. And they kept showing us that other angle of the back of his hand where there's no way you could tell. And I'm like, are they watching what we're watching?
They don't want to watch what we're watching.
Yeah, I mean, it was just very, very strange. I had to question from the front. Bama fans kept at me saying his finger moved. You could see the thread on the glove move. You could see the thread on the glove move.
The thread.
Nonsense. Complete nonsense. But you got to get that one right, man. And again, it doesn't mean, I want to be clear, it doesn't mean Auburn wins the game. Because, they didn't do what I said they needed to do. They didn't contain Bryce Young. He went for 343 yards in this one and 3 TDs. Yikes. I mean, it was going to be hard to win the game letting Bryce Young throw for 300 yards and 3 TDs. And they had a pretty pedestrian night on the ground for them at 173. But like the refs, man, I mean, they had a chance. This could have been interesting at the end. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
This could have been interesting at the end if you take away the 14 points. I feel like they gifted them.
Yeah. I think again, my thing is your goal is to get into the fourth quarter being in striking distance of Alabama. And I think those calls make it very difficult to achieve that because it puts you in an unnecessary hole that you have to climb out of. And so I think Auburn did enough in this game, despite those plays, to still be in the game. So you hate for it to be about that. Matthew says, tough to see, but with no expectations, I'm proud of our team fighting all the way to the end. Agree, it was closer than the score suggests. Comes right back and says, really excited to see where this team goes with the new hire.
I'll tell you what. I think that Robbie Ashford under Hugh Freeze might look Malik Willis-ish.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, right. Dangerous. Yeah. The greatest flop of all time. I think under Hugh Freeze, he might do some damage.
He'll be a problem.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem for a lot. I think Hugh Freeze can do with Robbie Ashford what he did with Malik Willis easily.
Yeah, for sure. The talent is there. He just has to be developed and have someone who can work with him and put him in an opportunity for him to succeed. We saw what this coaching staff did in 3 to 4 weeks, what they were able to do with Robbie. Right. Imagine what a coach can do in a whole offseason, spring, going into the next fall.
Did Liberty have a game tonight?
They got trounced by like 40
New Mexico State.
It was an awful team, actually.
Right. It was earlier in the day, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of feel like Hugh was just like, all right, let's get this one over with so I can go watch my new guys play in the Iron Bowl so I can start evaluations early. But
right. Got to get it all on film.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could really do some good work with Robbie Ashford. So
he's got the talent. He doesn't have to. He may go into the portal and grab a QB. Who knows? But he's got something to work with in Robbie for sure.
There's something to work with there.
SS Austin says, "Freeze time. Let's ride. Hugh will make Robbie a god."
all the Hugh Freeze detractors have been sending me pictures of car antifreeze in my DMs. No words, just a picture of some antifreeze. And I was like, okay, well, all right.
Okay, all right.
Got it.
Know where you stand. Know where you stand.
Well, car can't run without antifreeze, so I don't know what they're trying to say there.
I guess we need them. Guys, I mean, again, going into fall camp, I know people made mention. I think Cal Sweat here is saying, I think we can get enough NIL to keep Tank for 2023. Imagine more Tank, Hunter, Robbie behind the transfer portal O-line. There's a lot of ifs in here. There's a lot of hope in here.
That's a $5 million NIL deal. But I'll tell you,
we gotta break half of the NIL money we raised.
I'm saying
I'm ready to see Tank move on. I think it's time. Just make way for the younger guys. When these guys get a chance to go pro, it's important that they do, so that we can continue to recruit and promise playing time to the guys who are coming in. Like, so, I don't want to see Damari Alston ride the bench for another year. I just don't. Right. I think him and Jarquez will make a pretty good tandem next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess we won't get Quinshawn now, unfortunately. I guess he's gonna stay at Ole Miss. That was the one bright spot of a possible lane coming up to AU. But I'm saying we still got dogs in the house. We still got dogs in the house.
For sure. Lawrence Robinson says, I know Cadillac energized the team, but this rushing effort over 4 games has me questioning the philosophy at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because we came in and I thought that they would be I declared that they would be better in run blocking this year. Yeah. And it just never happened. And then Caddy takes over, and I don't like the Iron Bowl was always going to be the ultimate test, because this is the game where records don't matter, right? And Alabama wants to beat you as bad as they possibly can. And they ran for over 300 yards on Alabama. So we know the first 3 games were not a fluke.
Right.
Alabama wasn't checked out. And it sucks to say, but man, I'm telling you, Twitter will be broken. But Alabama has an outside shot to backdoor their way into this playoff. Remember, I said it. We're doing a whole special on it if they pull it off. But I don't. They were playing for something here. Those guys have a lot of pride on that side of the state as well too. And for Auburn to come in and run for 300 yards, I feel like that's a fair comment to say, hey, what were you guys doing with this run game earlier? If they had this in them, they had it in them earlier this season. It might have been worth 2 wins.
Not only would it have been worth 2 wins, it would have been worth LSU. Well, here's the thing about LSU, right? That was a close game because we did a whole bunch of stuff different from what wasn't working before the LSU game.
Right.
So if we come into the LSU game doing what had been likely working up through Penn State, then I don't know. Then LSU can prepare for us accurately, and we don't have just surprise the hell out of them.
See, I don't know. I don't know. The whole world knew we were going to run the ball tonight.
And did they know exactly how we were going to? We ran, just to say we ran the ball doesn't account for all the different ways that we ran the ball.
Sure, but that's my point. My point is that you could have done all that earlier in the season. It was
early in the season. Well, let me ask you this: if we come out saying, "Well, Robbie's our best chance to win," we're going to do everything it takes for Robbie to win. That wouldn't happen because Harsin was going to throw the ball because that's the type of offense he wanted to run. So it's hard. It's hard to make these what ifs at this point.
Right. But that's my point. My point is that it was in them. It was in them to play like this. They could have gotten a little bit of this out of them earlier in the season. And I don't really think that's debatable. Like, they could have played better earlier in the season if the system was more apt to what they do well.
Well, yeah, and I think
these are the same guys.
This is proven that it really truly was a scheme issue with this team.
Oh,
that's really what it was. We were forcing these kids to play a certain kind of way, and instead of tailoring the system to do what these guys can do.
I tried to tell. This is an Oregon fan that likes to argue with me in the Big Game Boomer group chat, and I was sure he was like, "You guys just don't have the horses to compete," and I was like, "No, it's not accurate." Right? We have a bigger scheme issue than we have a personnel issue, if you ask me. That's not to say that we don't have deficiencies in personnel. That wasn't my point. My point is that like if the scheme was better, this team would look a lot better. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just look at Robbie Ashford over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you didn't have the time to clean up the stuff with his arm. So they just they just took what he does well naturally and they did more of that. And then when he has to throw the ball, just let him go out there and be a football player.
Right.
Yeah.
So sure. I thought that was a really good approach to managing him over these last 4 games.
Agreed. Stephen Catling says, y'all seen Oregon State. Ha. Oh, Oregon. He's talking about Oregon.
No, he said Oregon State.
Oregon State and Oregon. What's the score of the game?
Oregon State won 38-34.
It was 38-34.
31-10. And then Oregon State came back and scored 28-7 to win the game. Let's give it 28-3.
That's another team I didn't want to see backdoor their way into the playoffs.
So I wasn't worried at all that was going to happen.
I wasn't worried. They were going to self-destruct. Oregon always does.
I just want that whole conference. I just want the whole conference to self-destruct.
Actually, I wouldn't mind USC to continue winning. Just.
Nah, screw them too, man.
No. I don't want Bama. Listen, trust me. They're doing yes. Yeah, you got to choose the lesser.
While we're here, Texas A&M is up 7-0 on LSU at the end. Like, what if A&M beats LSU?
It's not impossible, but they're still going to the. Here's the problem: if LSU beats A&M and beats Georgia, I'm still iffy on whether or not they get in. Well, this year, yeah, because almost everybody's got a loss. So they would have to beat both A&M and Georgia. But I think they were going to lose to Georgia. So Georgia's going to go no matter what. That's the thing. Georgia's going to go no matter what. I don't think LSU losing to A&M changes what was going to happen, which is Georgia's the only team in the conference that's going to go.
I think it's a matter of when you lose, though, for other teams behind LSU, right? I think we always knew what LSU's fate was going to be. Right. Okay. But I think them losing a week early and then losing again helps other teams who are hoping for chaos to move up. Right. And so I think that's kind of the thing there. Bankroll Blockade says this is the stance we're taking. I stand with Freeze. Make the call. No pun intended.
Interesting take.
This is an amazing comment, by the way. So many double entendres here. So he's with Freeze. Speaking of Freeze, we got a question for you. Bay Lyman says, Mike G, you warming up to my guy Freeze now.
Hey, listen, I was never cold on his ability to coach, right? And in particular, because we have a recent history of watching him tutor quarterbacks, which is, I think, Auburn's biggest need in the new regime. You need somebody who knows what they're doing with quarterbacks. Historically speaking, when they can recruit a quarterback and they have somebody who knows what they're doing, it's national championship time.
Right.
That's always been the biggest hole on this team, man, is just finding a guy who can actually run the offense, from the huddle. So I was never cold on Freeze for that. I mean, it's just all the other stuff. I feel like there are better hires out there, but hey, listen, we made our bed. We have to line it. If this is who we can get, this is who we can get.
I actually disagree that there are. I think all of the candidates, back when Lane was included, they have their obvious drawbacks and their obvious pros. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. I don't think there's a home run hire there. And I really hope that people don't start off with this Urban Meyer.
Not out of the pool that they were looking at.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying,
sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not out of the pool that they were looking at, but we're not in a place where we can go and pull a big name away from somebody. But I mean, again, that's why I follow with, hey, listen, if that's who we can get, that's who we can get. Right? You can name all the big names you want. If they don't want to come to Auburn, then there's nothing we can do. Yeah. So if this is the best we can do, give them $5 million a year and some passes to Six Flags, and let's move on.
Gotcha. B. Will's forehead says, if we get Dabo as head coach, I will drink white Gatorade.
I will chug 64 ounces of it with you.
Hey, man, I really hope we don't get Dabo as head coach.
And then I will immediately projectile vomit because white.
That's a lot of that's a lot of vomit to project if you drink that much.
It is. I've had a lot of practice over the last.
Wait, white Gatorade or white Powerade? White Powerade, if it's ice cold, is actually hitting. That's all I'm saying.
White Gatorade is gross.
That says Gatorade. I've never had white Gatorade.
It should be outlawed. It's literally one of the nastiest things ever. I was like, I drank this shit. I was like, what? Why would you make this? Who taste tested this? It was like, yeah, we're good. This is gonna be a big hit. This is gonna sell off the shelves, guys.
Wait, have y'all not tasted that green Gatorade that's cucumber flavored? Have y'all not tasted that? The worst mistake of my life. I thought it was like a green apple. Worst mistake of my life. That was the last time.
Grabbed it?
Yes, at the gas station. Got in the car and I almost threw up on my dashboard. That junk was so gross. Oh my God, cucumber. Why would you make Gatorade flavored like vegetables? That was stupid. I'm still upset about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I see. Danny John says to confirm before I unsubscribe, he has his hands on the button. Y'all rocking with Freeze.
Is that serious? Listen.
Yes.
Let me say this. For me, no, not really. But I'm not going to spend a whole year rooting against Auburn football. Right? Like, I mean, it just is what it is. If that's who they hire, we got to find a way to get behind them. And I hope that they give him a PR makeover. I hope they understand who they're hiring. Like, this is a dude that needs some work, from a public relations standpoint. So now I'm not in love with the hire. I'm just not. He was never high on my list. But I'm not going to get on here and poo-poo Hugh Freeze every week if they hire him. If that's who they hire, then whoever the coach is, the same way we got behind Harsin and everybody accused me of carrying water for Harsin. I will get behind Freeze but we're going to talk about what they do on the field.
I mean, and that's always going to be, that's always our commitment to you guys is we're going to be honest about what we see.
Yeah, right. That's it. That's it. I didn't really. Harsin didn't start to lose me until like, after LSU. I was hopeful that there would be change. We got blown out by Georgia. I want to say after Ole Miss is where I was just kind of like, we're in the danger zone here. Like he's starting to lose me a little bit, right? And there seemed to be some stubbornness there. And for a football team to lack offensive identity with an offensive head coach, to me is inexcusable.
Right.
It was only year 2, so I was waiting until mid season to see if it would come together, and it just didn't.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. But again, with Freeze, it's just like we don't control who they hire. So, like, I mean, unless you're just saying we're going to shut our business down if they hire him, which we're not going to do because I got bills to pay, then no. But, at the end of the day.
Listen, I think, I get the frustration. I personally felt like, and you may unsubscribe because of this, I felt like Freeze is a better overall head coach than Kiffin is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I mean,
he's a better overall.
Done anything? Yeah.
So from a coaching aspect, I'm kind of happy, but I understand how the optics, because I said several weeks back when right after we fired Harsin, I told Ike, Freeze presents an alignment issue between the administration and our fan base. We will not be on the same page behind Freeze, and it will take some time, and Freeze will have to begin to win to turn a lot of people in his favor.
Yeah.
And so I always knew that with hiring Freeze, that was always going to be something that we were going to have to face together.
Yeah.
Now, whether you want to admit it or not, if you're going to root for Auburn, you're going to have to rock with Freeze, because if Auburn hires him, he's your guy until he's not.
So to be clear here, I think most of the anti-freeze, that's so easy. That's so easy. It's amazing how cool that is, anti-freeze. Most of the anti-freeze sentiment that I've seen just browsing on Twitter, there are a lot of women who are bringing up not just his allegations that he participated in some unscrupulous behavior at Ole Miss. It's been since he's been at Liberty.
Yeah.
So this is not like, oh, remember that thing he did like 5 years ago? It's like, no. So since he's been at Liberty, activity, and these are allegations. I have no knowledge of it. I'm not saying that anybody who is accused is lying. I'm not saying that he's guilty. What has been said is that some allegations came against either staff or faculty at Liberty. And when the woman came forward, Hugh Freeze was, because he knew the person, DM'd her to say, you don't know what you're talking about. And
Poor decision.
yeah, like,
yeah, it was a poor decision.
being a head coach, it's one thing. Of course, everybody joked on Brian Hartz for being online, searching his name and then liking and stuff like that. Going online on social media to converse at all with anybody from the university that isn't a, hey, happy birthday. Like, there's very little you can do when you're that level of celebrity. You are culturally and regionally and even nationally very important. You shouldn't be participating in any type of back and forth with anybody, contact with anybody about anything that is not what you're being paid to do. And that judgment is bad. That's very bad judgment for a man that you want to hand it used to be a $100 million enterprise yearly for football. It's more than that now. You realize what that football center looks like and what NIL is about to be. That's a lot to put in the hands of somebody who makes bad decisions.
And the TV contracts after Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC are going to be insane. The TV money distribution. But I agree on all points. I mean, I think he summarized that beautifully. Right. Like, it's about decision making. When you're paying somebody $5+ million a year, or just millions of dollars a year to do a job, it's not just about how they do that job. It's about how they carry themselves in public. Right. It's about the things that they say. And, we live in a world where, like, I mean, you can get fired for things off the football field. So I just hope if they vetted this, that talk has been had about, like, right. Hey, you got a little bit of check your past, so you needed to be on your P's and Q's here. And like I said, I don't think what he did at Liberty, I don't think it was the worst thing ever. Again, it was just poor decision making. It was poor. It was one of those things where, like, it changed nothing for you to do that. You shouldn't have done it. And it was a bad look either way. So, like, I mean, that's where I'm at about that. But I don't think that should mean that he's unhireable. Right? I don't think that should mean he's unhireable. But, like, I mean, he's got to be very, very on it once he gets here, because there is a faction that will be looking for any little slip to see. This is why we shouldn't have hired that guy.
Yeah. But to answer on the football side, I think he's probably the best option of everybody out there. He brings a couple of things that nobody else brought. You could say he's an offensive coach and Lane is an offensive coach. Okay, Lane's an offensive coach, and I've seen him fourth quarter go for it his way out of 2 wins this season. I never wanted that. I always thought that was suspect. Whether the pressure of the Auburn job being on the horizon is what caused his play this year. Maybe their early schedule being 7-0 just kind of made it look like they were that good, but I never thought that they were that good. And fortunately, I don't want to say fortunately, I'm sorry, Lane. You did your thing, I guess. They weren't that good, but this is his second year there. But he had a new quarterback, a lot of new defensive personnel, a new defensive coordinator. So maybe some of that is it.
Third year.
Oh yeah, third year. That's right. First was COVID. I forgot. I always forget about that. So I mean, I don't see what everybody else sees with Lane Kiffin, but he was the splash hire. I don't want a splash. I want the best possible guy for the job. At least in 5 years at Ole Miss, Hugh Freeze beat Bama twice. Mm-hmm. One of them was his national championship game. And it was the second year. It was a second time in a row. We saw him come here and beat Arkansas, which we couldn't do. It's Auburn this year. And then he lost some games down the stretch, but wasn't he on his third or fourth quarterback?
He lost his third string quarterback.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and rail on the guy football wise for being on his third or fourth string quarterback and losing some games. I'm not. Y'all can, that's fine. But I was never convinced about Lane. Freeze, I like the football side. I think the decision-making side and what he's done, there are some moral gripes to be had about what he's had a hand in and how he's carried himself. I am not making that decision. And to whoever's point, are we going to ride with him? We're going to ride with who we got.
No,
we're telling everybody else.
We're going to ride with the players in the program, right? Like, Yeah, period. Because I see a lot of people saying I'm not going to watch, and I'm like,
Yeah,
we kind of, I kind of do this for a living now, so I had the option. But
I mean, but even if we didn't do this, man, even if this thing we do call the War Report never happened, there have been some hires to where I was upset about, and a few days later, I was right back to root for Auburn.
yeah,
Like I had to put that aside and realize this is Auburn. I love Auburn. I'm going to pull for Auburn regardless.
choose
Because
Auburn. Yeah.
Here's the deal. Hugh's not going to be at Auburn forever.
Right.
Any coach that you don't like won't be there forever. Auburn will be here, and you love Auburn. So, to your point, choose Auburn, man.
Yeah,
just rock with Auburn. So, Matthew says Auburn, we play tough and knock the dirt off our pants and ask mom to use the good detergent to get the grass stains out. Tough to watch, but god dang, man. Glad we didn't give up. Cool to see our guys sell out for Caddy.
Facts. There was no quit in any of those players.
Right.
None.
Right.
They played until the last whistle.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate Caddy for what he's done in regards to that. Christy, appreciate you on here. I've seen your comments. You said super impressed with McPherson.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen.
We got a
Straight
kicker,
up.
man.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have a kicker for the future. I'm excited about this kid.
Yeah,
Oh,
listen.
guys.
All you can do is go out there and make the kicks when they call on you, and he seems to be doing that. So I got no
Right.
gripes with McPherson.
With no drama either. They weren't veering and barely sneaking in there down the middle.
Well, I
Let's
don't
go.
know. There was one.
There was that last
snuck
field
in
goal
the left
kick. It looked a
upright.
little,
Yeah,
yeah.
I must
stuck
have
in
missed
the
that
left
one. I
upright.
must have
But
missed
it was a good kick. Like he started it and it started to turn a little bit, but yeah, no, but it went in. So it's a make almost misses a make.
Kyle, I missed you there. If you may have had a commented again, I'll be looking out for it. But appreciate that. Lawrence comes back and says it's probably 6 less turnovers because of the lack of interceptions. I think he came back and says Auburn had the highest turnover season I've seen in a long time. Take half of these away, and we have 2 more wins.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that either.
Yeah.
This could have been an 8-win season.
And again, Brian Harsin is no longer the coach here. It bothers. I know it bothers Ike, but it also bothers me. Brian Harsin was not responsible for players fumbling and turning the ball over because we got a new head coach, played much better, and they did the same thing. Is it okay that when players are playing poorly, sometimes there are things that the coach can't control that are just the players playing poorly? Because when you don't like a guy, it's easy to blame that guy, but the turnovers were always on the players. And what was crazy, Jarquez never fumbled the ball, but he fumbled it twice in the last 3 games. That was crazy to me because in Texas A&M, Tank fumbled, and then Jarquez fumbled right behind him. I'm like, man, what's that about? Because Jarquez never fumbles, and he's outstanding player. Sometimes players just fumble.
Yeah,
they just fumble, man. But the experience now, I think, man, Robbie, what he's done this year to clean up his game, because the one where he had the snap that went behind him, that was a bad snap. That was a bad snap where he was trying to save the snap, and he still made something out of that play, which was remarkable. It was an amazing play to even get that pass off late. I think it was an incomplete pass, but that's the one where Bama had 12 men on the field, I think. It was just an amazing play. Yeah. He got better as the season went on. What do you know? Inexperienced players get better as they play more. Who would have thought? I don't know, man. It's crazy.
I'll add the inconsistent snaps that led to turnovers as well, too. We got to do something at center.
We're down to our 3rd, 4th string center.
Yeah. They got to figure something out. Hopefully, maybe they can work something out in the portal. But, when you're a quarterback, I can only imagine you're trying to direct a bunch of stuff, and you got a center that's hiking the ball all over the place. You could argue because he's a quarterback, it's his job to be prepared. But, having a guy who snaps the ball perfect every time because you have fractions of a second to react, they mean something. In college football, in terms of protection, every half second that gets wasted because I'm trying to catch a ball that you snapped low and to the left is difficult. And that turned into turnovers a couple times this year. So now we had one today where he snapped it low and then Tank almost ran over Robbie.
Yeah.
It was just, so they've got to do something there for sure. But to your point, it's not, to me, that's not on Brian Harsin or any coach for that matter. It's not on Caddy. Right. Your center just got to snap the ball. It's part of football. You play center.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Let me grab some of these more of these super chats. We'll get to the rest of the comments. Christian Crawford says it's good to see people still rocking with Caddy for head coach despite today's loss. His work and legacy will forever be remembered from this season.
Even if he had lost every game, you should still rock with Caddy.
Yeah.
Facts.
Right. Even I mean, really, I don't know how you could put any of this on him. Now, I'd rather them win more than they lose, which is what he did. But like at the end of the day, I don't know. He was going to get a pass from me regardless.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Imani Smooth says, I say this. If you voted for Trump, you shouldn't say anything about Freeze if you got a problem with him. I want Dion, but if Freeze is hired, I'm in.
Colorado offered Dion a head coaching position,
Supposedly.
So I'll be
Now,
interested to see if he takes
in
that.
earlier in the week, he was in talks with South Florida as well, but Colorado actually allegedly offered him, right?
They made an offer multiple reputable sources were reporting that they made him a solid offer. So I'll be interested to see if he takes that. I think he can do better than Colorado personally.
Oh, yeah.
You can wait out for something big.
Yeah. Now, I don't, if you're Dion, do you want to make a jump to like an okay program and build them up before you jump to a premier program, or do you want to go straight from where you're at to a premier program? I think it might be good to just hit that middle ground and see if you can
South
improve.
Florida.
Yeah, and see if you can improve a team, with culture and with process and motivation and things of that nature before you take the next job. But I don't think Auburn is going to be where Dion lands.
I think it also for your Auburns and your bigger programs out there, they want to see what you can do, right? At that level, because usually that's where those coaches are hired. You look at Josh Heupel and what he did at UCF. Tennessee took a chance on him, right? So I think they do want to see what you can do at that smaller program. And a lot of people wanted Dion, but to your point, Mike, I don't think Dion was ever really seriously considered. There was too many people ahead of him that Auburn. And I think since then, other coaches that have reached out that probably would have jumped ahead of Dion, in my opinion. So
I never thought if there's anybody who deserves to skip in line as far as that process goes, I think it's Deion Sanders, because being able to manage the program, I think it in certain ways, of course, it's easier to manage a smaller program like Jackson State, but in other ways it's harder because he's shorter on resources. I remember we did an interview with Scotty at Off Script, and he was saying that Dion is actually paying at least one staff member out of his pocket because there was no budget for it. Like,
really?
I don't, yeah. So he wanted the guy wanted to come in. Jackson State said, we don't have the money. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll pay him. So whatever, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars that man is making, Dion's paying him. There are things that he has to do as an HBCU head coach that people at Auburn just have 5 staff members to do. And I think it's probably, again, harder in some ways, but easier in some ways, as far as the commitment it takes, as far as time and schedule and shooting videos for promos. He's Deion Sanders. He did all that and played 2 sports in his prime. I think he knows how to do that. I don't think he couldn't do it. I think that there was a concern, had to be a concern of fit, because we heard that somebody talked to somebody in Deion's camp.
Yeah.
Somebody from Auburn talked to somebody in Deion's camp when Harsin got fired. So we haven't heard about that name with our job anymore. That means that something wasn't quite what they wanted it to be, whether it was Auburn saying never mind or Deion's camp that saying never mind. Something wasn't a fit there. So I don't think he couldn't do it. I don't think he needs the warm up because of who he is. I think this is the one case where who you are has prepared you plenty for this job.
Oh, that's fair. That's a fair point. That's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. How many programs are going to take that chance on a Deion? How many teams will pass? Someone will take a chance eventually, but a lot will pass.
Yeah, I think if you're a program and it's a bold move, but it's bold enough that if it doesn't work out, nobody's going to fillet you over that, right? Like,
right.
They hired Deion Sanders. They hired one of the greatest football players of all time at the pro level to be, coach, especially after he just went undefeated in his program. Yeah, so like I don't know. I would like to see Deion, but only if Auburn is going to get out of his way.
Right.
And that's true for any coach we hire. But especially him. I just don't. If Auburn's going to get out of his way and let him run the program, great. Because I'll tell you what, if they're getting in his way, he's not going to stay quiet about it, and our family business is going to be everywhere.
That's
right.
That's
so
true that.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Matthew says, I hear the complaints with Freeze on his Twitter, but are we going to act like our basketball coach ain't in his feelings on Twitter? If you win, it'll slip aside.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think that Freeze and Pearl are comparable in terms of their past transgressions.
Right.
Because I mean, what Bruce Pearl did to me was almost nothing, which is why I laugh at people when they try to make this point about how he cheats. Give me a break. Freeze is a little different, but I agree with you in that if he comes in and he wins, people will talk about the winning and not about the past. So you're right. I mean, but that's the big if, because this is to me this is a little different. I think that Freeze has the harder task than Bruce Pearl had. Bruce Pearl didn't have the pressure on him.
Right.
That's true.
So to win as quickly, and he got years and years and years to build. He got 3-4 years to build Auburn basketball into a winner.
Yeah.
You know, is free. Are we going to deal with 6 seasons for 4 years for Freeze?
In fairness, too, you got to think about what he inherited too, because the Barbie era, like Auburn basketball was a wasteland. I don't think Auburn football is a wasteland, even though the expectations are much higher for us.
Yeah, Tony Barbie has blocked half of Auburn Twitter. Like,
that makes sense.
After he went to to this day, they still let him know that they do not appreciate the job that he did here. His time here was not welcome. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you have that kind of pressure on you. So you're right. Like, you know, what he took over was very different. So I don't think these two are. Like I said, I agree with him in that if winning covers a multitude of sins.
Yes,
sins.
Right,
plural. Right, like winning covers a lot of stuff, man. So if you win, they will forget a lot of things until they can't. So
for sure. Ricky says Freeze is more loyal than Lane. Hope Freeze hits the portal hard and promotes Caddy to OC.
I agree with this too. The only thing that I would say is if we had hired Lane, the buyout would have probably kept him in place at least 4 years. Yeah. And that's something that if whoever's writing these contracts has half a brain, they would put that in there. Like, all right, like this guy will jump for the next job. So if we're going to pay you $10+ million a year, you're going to commit to 4 years here. And we're going to make it so punitive that if somebody else wants you, they're likely going to have to fork over the buyout cash on your end to take the job. Right. So I agree with this wholeheartedly. I think that we don't even have to put a huge buyout in Freeze's contract.
And on top of that, I think there was incentive for Lane to leave, not necessarily for college, but for the pros. Because he was a head coach in the pros before he was a head coach in college, and that's where his dad cut his teeth. I think ultimately that might be the end game for Lane Kiffin as something he aspires to. I don't think he got a fair shake at the Raiders, not with Jamarcus Russell as your quarterback. Who don't do that to me. That's not fair. Yeah, so he may want a second shot at that, but I don't think with everything that Auburn has going for it right now, I don't think there's a program that makes sense to leave Auburn if you're telling me you get to inherit these facilities, this regional location with the talent we have around us, this NIL pot, and a waning Saban across the state. Like this is the perfect setup. There's not going to be a better college situation for any coach as long as everybody above you is going to leave you alone. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We assume that that's going to happen now. Things are kind of looking a little not quite as swift as we would have thought with hiring a coach. We thought it would be Lane. It makes me wonder what was the hang up with Lane. What happened? It seemed like a done deal, and maybe they officially got to talk after the Egg Bowl. And I wonder if Auburn got cold feet because of his last month, or did he get cold feet? Because I don't know, man. It's weird because everything was pointing that direction. Auburn we wouldn't have even been mentioning his name still unless somebody in his camp said, yeah, man, just wait till after the Egg Bowl. It's good. What happened? What changed? I want to know that now because I really got concerns about that. But I'm hoping that we haven't gone back to, all right, yeah, we're different, but not really. So here's what you got to do. And did that scare Lane Kiffin off? I have no idea. None.
Yeah. Lawrence Robinson is asking about performance in this season. Had we been run heavy from the start, how many interceptions would have occurred this season?
I don't know.
I don't know if it would have changed a lot because a lot of these interceptions at the beginning of the season was just bad decisions. It
Yeah,
wasn't like we were just throwing heavy and we just end up
Well,
throwing. It
well,
wasn't like
5 of them
law of
all
averages.
Finley.
Yeah, like we
Right.
were just throwing the ball to the other team. So
Yeah.
eventually you got to call a pass play, right? And
Right.
so
As we found out tonight,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you were going to come back in this game, they were going to have to throw the ball, and we couldn't do that. It was almost like they had conceded to just let's just make this look respectable. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
With the at the pace that they were running offense there at the end of the third and the fourth quarter. Again, there was no urgency, and my dad was screaming like, "Man, what are they doing? They got to throw the ball." And I was like, I don't know, man. I just feel like they conceded. That's not our game this year, and so we just need to keep moving the ball and hope to get lucky.
I am looking forward to that to change.
Yeah,
like we need some semblance of if it's under 2 minutes, under 3 minutes and a half. I want to have that confidence that we can get down there and at least get 3 points out of it. May not get in the end zone, but at least some points before the half ends. All right. Get to some more comments. Prayers to Haley there. She's trying to desperately get out of Tuscaloosa.
So sorry you had to go there.
So sorry you had to be down there in the middle of that. John Brandon says we need Freeze's coaching, but Dabo's character. I don't want anything to do with Dabo's character.
Do we need Dabo's character though?
Yeah, I don't want to.
How quick when players start getting paid, Dabo's winning. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want him here either. He's cool getting paid $9 million, but if some players get paid part of the pot they making, he out.
Yeah. Our girl Brandy Mack once. She's on the Dabo train. I'm like, man, keep his goofy ass over there.
Keep Yabba Dabba back at Clemson. I'm cool.
Yabba Dabba, stay your ass over there.
Yeah. I'm cool on Yabba Dabba for sure.
He's the most yuck head coach in America, and I do not want him.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my nickname for him. Greg Reeves says, love you guys, but just saying everyone said firing Harsin before the end of the season would be a worse situation because there wasn't a better option. We've been miles better since we fired him.
Oh, yep. This is a fair comment. And I will admit I was in that train. I was like, you fire a guy mid-season, it still could have gone bad. But they made an excellent decision in promoting Caddy to interim, which covered a lot of the risk of firing your coach mid-season.
Right.
So they got an interim to step in that was an Auburn guy, and Auburn social media was all over it. I just think had they not promoted Caddy, the opposite could have happened.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. And then now again, I think B, you've admitted, BU's like, man, I was wrong.
Oh yeah.
I admit it. I think listen, this is I love being wrong under these circumstances. When Auburn is fun to watch and things appear to be better. It was obvious a change needed to be made, which is why I started this show out giving Caddy his flowers and thanking him for the job that he's done. Because to this point right here, it could have, to Mike G's point, we could have gone the other way. We could have been Florida last year or some of these other schools that fired their coach and they just kept losing.
Yeah, it could have been a 3-win season.
Yeah.
It could have been a 3-win season. So
yeah, man.
That's what it is.
I Am Hop says Robbie is a good coach away from being a Heisman candidate.
I echo this sentiment. I'm telling you, he's got that type of athleticism. If you can, he just needs to have a really good offseason. I know that I think he's got 2 private QB coaches that he throws with. When he was at Oregon, he had one on that coast. He's got one here. Get with your QB coach, young man, and polish up that arm. And, you could take Auburn places next year for sure.
Appreciate the super sticker by No Meter here. Appreciate you. Lawrence Robinson says, what if we're putting Freeze out there and Mullen is in Auburn signing papers? I will throw up.
Ugh.
I will throw up. I will go drink white Gatorade just to throw it up if that happens. Now,
War Report special.
Yeah.
C-Dub, B. Will. Mike G. Chug white Gatorade in protest. That's going to be a 3-minute segment of us just going,
no, sir. Now, Now I understand why people feel the way I feel. They feel the way about Freeze. That's how I feel about Mullen. So I get it. Totally get it.
Okay.
KJ Show Says War Eagle, no matter the hire, Caddy made great strides for his future and these kids. Holiday blessings to the War Report 4 and community.
Auburn should put something extra in his Christmas stocking for this coaching job down the stretch for sure.
I think Caddy has done enough to get promoted and be a critical part of the upcoming staff for sure.
For sure.
I'm all for it. Guys, listen, we're going to have to get out of here. We appreciate you hanging out with us. I want to shout out a few of our sponsors, Prize Picks. Guys, please be sure to head on over there. Use code RAPPORT where you get a 100% match. 100% deposit match up to $100 for your first deposit. Shout out to them for supporting our game day experience. Also, you may have popped one, but if you didn't, head over to Rogue Shop. Use code RAPPORT. Go get your gummies. They definitely been a long-term sponsor, good supporter of the show. So definitely support them by heading over to the Rogue Shop. Guys, also, if you notice you weren't able to comment, that's because you're not a member. Become one for $5.99 a month. Where you can also get access to exclusive content behind a paywall. That is Ike's film review. Definitely want to check that out. He does a very thorough job. And with a new head coach, there's going to be some special watch the films coming your way. So you definitely don't want to miss that. We're in the holiday season, guys. So nothing like sharing the gift of being a member with others. Click that button, especially if you're on the desktop, to do membership gifting. And YouTube will give memberships to random people. They'll have it up to a month to try it out. So definitely do that to help us grow our community. We gladly appreciate it. Gentlemen, closing thoughts before we get out of here.
War Eagle.
It's been a hell of a season, man. It's been hell in a bad way. It turned out being a little better on the back end, but man, we enjoyed the ride. Here's to a better record next year. Aren't we due? Isn't it time for us to shine next year, man?
It's time. I agree. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We would definitely be. I don't know how much coverage you're going to get out of us tomorrow with us reviewing the game and whatever decisions made, but we will be here on tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. War Eagle.
War Eagle.